All right, you guys are good to go.
Okay, so today is the MPO TAC meeting for September. It's September 3rd. It's 4:03 p.m. right now. Dominic, are we going to be doing how we did it before, where Andrew was asking to see who's in? Chair is in, of course, and so Dominic, if you're going to do the same thing as we did before, please go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and do roll call then.
Thank
Mr.
you,
David
sir.
Armijo.
Dominic, I see that he's muted.
Yeah, I'm online. Hello.
Okay.
Okay, we can hear you, sir. All
Thank
right. Mr. Richard Hanaway.
Present.
Mr. Michael Garza. All right, Miss Debbie Hudson,
I'm present.
Miss Allison Jinks,
Present.
Mr. Rod McGillivray,
I'm here.
and Miss Ashley Curry.
I'm here, present.
All right, is there anybody else on the line that's joined us?
Oh, this is Sugi Lee from City of Las Cruces. I joined through the phone, over the phone.
All righty, thank you. And looks like we have one more, and Mr. Zach Libben. So we do have quorum, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. You know, I apologize, guys. For some reason, I lost the meeting agenda. So typically, the next thing on the agenda is, or Dominic, do you mind giving me some guidance on?
Sure.
Because I don't have it before me, and for some reason, I lost that email.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. So next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Is, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Anyone?
This is Zach. So moved.
Second?
Sugi Lee, second.
Thank you.
And I will go ahead and call the roll, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. David Armijo,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Hanaway,
Yes.
Mr. Zach Libben,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Garza, Miss Debbie Hudson,
Yes.
Miss Al,
Yes.
Mr. Sugu Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Rod McGillivray,
Yes.
Miss Ashley Curry.
Yes.
Motion passes, Mr. Chair. Oh, and Mr. Chair.
Chair votes yes. Thanks, Dominic.
Motion
Next, it's
passes.
typically, thanks, Dominic. Next, it's typically the public, right?
Next, we have the approval of the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. So does anyone have any changes to the meeting minutes at all? Any modifications to be made? Hearing none. If that's the case, I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes, please.
I move the item to approve. This is David Armijo.
Rod McGillivray, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Go for a vote, please.
Mr. David Armijo,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Hanaway,
Yes.
Mr. Zach Libben,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Garza, Miss Debbie Hudson,
Yes.
Miss Allison Jinks,
Yes.
Mr. Suguli,
Yes.
Mr. Rod McGillivray,
Yes.
Miss Ashley Curry.
Yes.
And is there anybody else that has joined us? And then Mr. Chair.
Chair votes yes. Let's move forward, please. Now it's public comments, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Dominic, did you receive anything via email? I didn't.
I did not.
Okay. So that's how we took it last time. So not seeing any public comment. Let's move on to action items.
So we have, the next is action item 5.1, it's an amendment to the MPO bylaws.
Okay,
And I will be presenting this, Mr. Chair.
please go ahead and start.
One second, sir. Let me share my screen.
No problem.
I apologize. Here we go. So we have before the committee today a bylaws amendment. This is specifically for the policy committee. Due to the ongoing public health order, it currently prevents the MPO policy committee from meeting in person. The current version of the MPO bylaws under policy committee section 3 F.3 bars telephonic voting under most circumstances and limits telephonic voting to only one member of the policy committee. Now, we did consult with the legal department at the city of Las Cruces, and the current open government division advisory issued by the Attorney General's office in response to the COVID emergency does allow us to operate with virtual meetings in spite of our bylaws provision. We do believe it is best here, with the MPO staff believes it's best to amend the bylaws now to respond to the current situation, just in case there are any situations like this in the future. So this is the proposed language for the bylaws, and I will give you a minute to read that. So our current bylaws are silent on whether the BPAC and TAC can meet virtually. We do interpret this to mean that there is no barrier to meeting virtually. This is also only intended as a short-term measure because the joint powers agreement is about to be renegotiated. And then when the joint powers agreement is renegotiated, we will do a update of the bylaws at that time, a complete overhaul of the bylaws. So what we're asking today is for TAC recommendation of approval of the bylaws amendment at this meeting. If there are any comments or questions, I will now stand for questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments that they'd like to share? Hearing none, does anyone want to make a motion?
Ash, can I read-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to recommend the approval of the bylaws, the amended bylaws.
Thank you.
I'll second that emotion, the motion. This is David.
Okay, Dominic, you want to put it for a vote?
Mr. David Armijo,
Yes.
Mr. Richard Hanaway,
Yes.
Mr. Zach Libben,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Garza,
Yes.
Miss Debbie Hudson,
Yes.
Miss Allison Jinks,
Yes.
Mr. Koteng Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Suguli,
Yes.
Mr. Rod McGillivray,
Yes.
Miss Ashley Curry.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Chair votes yes.
Oh, sorry. I apologize, Mr. Chair.
That's okay, not a problem.
So the motion
Dominic?
passes.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other action items? Again,
That
like I
is-
said,
No,
Go
sir, Mr. Chair, that is the only action item. The next are discussion items. The next item is the Elephant Butte Irrigation District Trails Permitting Process presentation. And that will be presented by Mr. Zach Libben.
okay, Zach, whenever you're ready, sir, go ahead.
I'm ready. Is it, can I share my screen? There we go.
I hope you can.
Me too.
Oh, good.
Can you all see that?
Yes,
Good afternoon, guys. This, as you guys know, my name is Zach Libben. I'm the district engineer here at EBID. We also have Gary Essling, our treasurer manager, Lucas Doherty, our land and permit tech, and Anna Donahue, our engineering and land assistant here. They might help me out if I go wrong anywhere. So first I'll cover our general permitting process and then some trail specific considerations, and then I'll open it up for any questions or comments from you all. So first, EBID is a quasi-government entity, political subdivision of the state of New Mexico, formed to serve our members. Any use of I'm not sure what's going on. Any use of EBID property requires a written agreement, whether that's a special use permit or other written agreement. Our permits are usually issued for 1, 10, or 25 years, depending on the type of the use and the permittee. The permitting process is first that an application has to be submitted to EBID. That's available on EBID's website, and then we also got it here in our engineering department here. Requires a non-refundable application fee of $50 plus tax. And so discussion with our engineering department here is highly recommended in advance of submitting that, or at least as you're submitting the application. Submitting the application is required to get the process started. Some structures can only be designed and installed by EBID, and many larger structures have to be stamped by a professional engineer. General conditions and requirements and responsibilities are found on the back of the right of use application, which are the same as the back of the permit. Recommend that everyone reviews those. There's a lot of information there. And then there's special conditions that can be added by staff and then approved by the board or dictated by the board during their approval process. So the application design plans will be evaluated here in our engineering department, and then by permanent staff here at EBID will review that. Once that's completed, then it goes before EBID's Board of Directors for approval or denial with a recommendation from staff included in that presentation. EBID's board usually meets the second Wednesday of each month. Applicants don't have to be present, but it's recommended. And so I guess my thing's on a timer I didn't know about. If questions arise that we don't have answers to, then a permit's likely to get tabled if the applicants aren't there to help us address those questions. Once a permit's approved, you're invoiced for the fees, and the permit's not valid until the fees are paid. Noteworthy that permits are non-exclusive, meaning that we could have both a gas line and a trail in the same location, and they're non-transferable. Permits will not be issued for longer than 25 years, and any permit longer than a year requires EBID Board of Directors approval. The permit process can take some time, so it's recommended you come in as early as possible and don't wait till the last minute. So some of our other standard conditions are the new construction must be completed within 2 years of approval, and the construction obviously can't begin until the permit is valid, signed, and paid. And construction notice is required 10 days prior to construction and 72 hours for a construction clearance. All kinds of things can happen in an irrigation system with our canals and laterals. General information is just that the application and the policy is available on our website. You can get it here at our engineering department. And then we have a fact sheet too that if you would like it, I'd be happy to send it to you. And it's also available here at our offices. So again, Lucas Doherty is our land and permit tech. Miss Anna Donahue is our engineering and land assistant, and then I'm the district engineer. And you're welcome to contact any of us or all three of us about any projects that are coming up or anything you want to talk about. So the agreement process specific to trails starts with a memorandum of understanding. EBID worked with the city of Las Cruces. Well, sorry, but before trails could be allowed, EBID worked with the New Mexico legislator to get a Trails Act passed that allowed for a permittee to take responsibility for a trail on EBID's property. While not indemnifying EBID, the permittee takes responsibility for the trail and the public using that trail. So an MOU was worked out with the city in 2009, and the city got its first permit for a trail in 2009 and 2010 for the trail that goes along the outfall channel. Part of that outfall channel is the Doniana Drain. And so the city has a permit, but that was the first one worked out. And recently, the city has a permit approved for a trail along the Mesilla Drain and the Quisenberry Lateral, the first of their GO-BON projects. And out of that, the general conditions are found in that MOU, and I'd be happy to send the city's MOU to anybody that doesn't have that or would like that. But some new special conditions have also come out of the most recent permitting process. We'll talk a little bit about those too. So special use permits on top of that MOU. So the MOU sets up the framework and addresses liability and general considerations up front. A special use permit is still required for discrete segments of EBID's system for the use of a trail. And each segment of that trail needs to be discussed in detail with us here at EBID, but really before planning that trail so that operation and maintenance departments can provide their input and we can talk to you about any foreseeable concerns. I'm going to mention right there that EBID's board will not approve permits that for uses that significantly detriment EBID's purpose and objectives. Really, almost anything that detriments EBID's purposes, I wouldn't expect them to approve a permit. They are also unlikely to approve any permits that detriment or are the detriment to neighboring landowners, or that the neighboring landowners, specifically EBID members and farmers, are opposed to. So as we've discussed in past planning of your all's trail plan, we do need to find places where we're not going through farmland and where we're not upsetting those farmers, or see if we can get see if the permittee can get their buy-off on that trail before taking it to EBID's board. So the trail design must be such that it doesn't impact EBID's operation and maintenance. And the biggest way that we do that is finding one bank that EBID is going to allow to be a trail, and one bank that EBID is going to keep for operation and maintenance. That's key, that EBID is the one dictating which bank EBID is going to keep for operation and maintenance. One of the big benefits to EBID of allowing a trail is that we can get the traffic off of the bank, the foot traffic off of the bank that we are going to be using for operation and maintenance. So again, that's the big benefit to EBID, is to get those folks out of the way of what we're trying to do. Our ditch riders are running water and our maintenance crews are trying to maintain the canal. So on that note, permittee can't use both banks at any time, so there won't be a trail going up both sides of the facility. And then liability enforcement will be the responsibility of the permittee, as well as ensuring the public doesn't use or enter the water prism. No structures, pavement, landscaping, etc. will be allowed to impede the water flow or be anywhere in the water prism, impede the freeboard, or impede the flow of water. Any use of EBID facilities for multi-use trails is subservient to the intended purposes and agricultural function of EBID's facilities. EBID will be operating, maintaining these canals and drains and laterals for its intended purpose, and we won't let any trail get in the way of that. No use will be permitted that degrades the water quality, and trails must also be mountable or drivable for operation and maintenance by our crews and by the permittee when that need arises, or you have to allow enough space next to the trail to allow us to get in there to do that maintenance. Because at times maintenance will be required from both banks, and at times operations will be required from both banks. But in general, the areas that we've discussed with the city, for example, we don't need to get to that other bank nearly as often, which is why we've allowed that trail on that other side. And then trails are subject to closure at any time for emergencies and EBID's operation and maintenance. So also, just some of these general considerations are that in the event that an improvement is damaged in an emergency, a ditch break, anything like that, or even just general maintenance, the permittee will be responsible for the costs and replacing the landscaping or the improvements or whatever it is, while EBID will take care of the ditch break. We won't be putting the trail back. So EBID also won't take any responsibility for damage to any facilities or improvements. And EBID won't be responsible for liability associated with the safety of the public utilizing that property, or for any criminal activity or any of those kind of things. That's going to be the responsibility of the permittee. And then the legal way to say this would be too, that at all times the permittee must maintain the trail in a manner necessary for EBID to retain its immunity under EBID's legal authority. And that's a lot of what the Trails Act was required, to make sure that EBID could retain that legal immunity under its authorizing act. So the permittee must also keep the inside and outside slopes of the bank of EBID's canal free of weeds and trash and debris and erosion. That's going to be the responsibility of the permittee. The permittee must address and respond to concerns and complaints of the public, users of the trail, neighboring landowners, adjacent EBID landowners, and anyone with concerns stemming from the trail and its permitted use. Permittee must place and maintain signage, and we'll work together on making sure that's adequate. And again, that signage is gonna have to make it clear that only one bank is allowed for use as a trail and the other bank is not allowed for bikers and hikers and walkers and whatever it may be, which again is the benefit to EBID to get the folks off of that side. So then the permittee must not allow the use to prevent or detriment EBID's ability to operate and maintain its facilities or agricultural uses or the farming practices of neighboring landowners. The permitted use, the trail cannot detriment the right to farm of the neighboring landowners. So it cannot prevent a farmer from spraying a herbicide or spraying bugs or spraying zinc or harvesting or creating dust. His right to farm cannot be impacted by the trail. Another benefit to EBID is that before the trail can be constructed, the bank has to be constructed in such a manner that it provides adequate freeboard. So it's built up to an elevation determined by EBID to prevent normal operations from overflowing or spilling from that bank. So another way to say that is that bank has to be high enough the water doesn't come out before the permittee can put asphalt or whatever improvement it is that they want to put down. Otherwise, we're allowing, we'll never be able to raise that bank again. So then gates and removable bollards need to be constructed and will need to be worked out during the design process, because there may be places that additional gates are required than just at the trail to prevent that access to the other bank or to prevent access from a different route than what's desired by the trail. And then lastly, EBID shall have access to all of its property at any time, and we again reserve the right to prohibit access to any of EBID's property at any time for the purposes of operation and maintenance. So if something happens, if there's an emergency, a ditch break, EBID will be required or be able to block off the use of that section as a trail while that repair is made. So in general, I think that's all that I have to present, but I'm open to any questions or thoughts or any input anybody has.
Any questions from anyone? So Zach, I think it's pretty clear. I've got a quick question, but Zach, I think it's pretty clear, but the only way to do a trail really is an MOU, right?
Renee, that's correct. We need an MOU in place first. We have that worked out with the city, so we have a good template. We're working right now with the town of Maxima to have an MOU worked out. We've talked to the town of the village of Hatch about doing that as well. And then we've had extensive discussions with the county as well, but haven't ever achieved that yet. But the city example is a good starting place. And then the one with the town of Maxima will be even better, learning from our recent experiences.
Any other questions from anyone? Zach, thank you very much. That was good information. If someone would like to have this presentation, can they just reach out to you?
That would be great. I'd be happy to share it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I was fortunate enough to have one of our TAC members send me the information. So I know now the discussion item, the second discussion item is the calendar year 2021 safety targets presentation. It's probably going to be Michael.
It is.
Are you ready?
I sure am. Let me share my screen with you really quickly. And I got to bring it over to my screen. Okay. Let me share it. Now we got to know it. Go to another screen to share it. Hold on.
No problem.
Mm. Hold on a second. I'm still trying to share my screen. There it is. And here it is. Can everybody see that? Is that clear? Or should I bring it over?
It's good for me.
Okay. So the full screen's on the page. Is that correct?
I have good view of it.
Okay, good. Oh, this is so much fun. Good afternoon, technical committee, and we're working through the situation. This is the second time I think I've done this for the tax. And today we're going to talk about Mesilla Valley MPO safety performance target. Okay. Okay, so the 23, the SCRF, which is the Certificate of Federal Register, or 490 requires each MPO to set up performance targets for safety. In 2019, the Mesilla MPO adopted performance target for safety performance measures for calendar year 2020. The safety performance measure must be adopted annually. The measure consists of number of fatalities, number of serious injuries, rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicles miles traveled. I'll just say VMT because it's a mouthful. And rate of serious injuries per 100 million VMT, the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, and the state has released its targets for 2021. Bear in mind, we don't like the name targets. We prefer maximum because nobody wants to say we're going to hit more fatalities. So in actuality, these are projections, not really what we're striving for, the maximum. So you can see the state's level of fatalities is increasing gradually, but it's still increasing. The target is 411.6. If you notice that, and you can read this, I can also share these PowerPoint if you like. 53% of all crashes were pedestrians, and New Mexico last year, I'm not sure about this year, had the highest number of pedestrian fatalities. So this is something we are working on, and we hope to reduce this. The MPO fatalities are going up as well, but going up slower at a slower rate. We know that in 2019, there were 50 fatalities in Doñana. We don't have that. We didn't have that. So it probably be lower in 2019. And we're anticipating that. Well, the unfortunate thing we're having right now is that they're actually the crashes with the COVID-19 are decreasing, but fatalities are increasing. People are driving much faster, and that's nationwide. And I'm sure anecdotally you can see that here too. So we're anticipating more fatalities because of people driving recklessly and speeding. The good thing that the number of state serious injuries is decreasing, and it's steadily decreasing since the 2010. And the target is 1,030.5. We are also decreasing the MPO for serious injuries, and that's for Class A. Class A is for demonstrable injuries. So the officer that's investigating the crash sees that person is seriously injured, and it may be taken to the hospital. As you can see, our serious injuries are going down, and We can attribute some of this to the use of seatbelts, vehicles with airbags, less driving under the influence of drug or alcohol, and safer car design, drivers education programs, and mixed use development and geometric improvements. The state fatalities per 100 million VMT is increasing. The 5 years average are expected to increase from 2017, and the projected average will be 1.486 for the 21 target, our maximum. There will be decreasing VMT. We also know that because of COVID-19. So these figures may change next year, and I anticipate they will. We have had increasing fatalities per VMT, 100 million VMT, and this is based on a lower projected VMT that was calculated and given us by the FHWA, and I use linear projection to get our VMT. You can see that it is going up, it's slightly decreasing, but it's still going up to 1.44 for our moving average. The state serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled is going down, and that's predictable. The target is 3.7, and these are based on averages. That's the average rate. The serious injury for 100 million VMT is going down, of course, for the MPO, and our rate is 7.7, higher than the states for the moving average. The non-motorist fatalities for the state is projected to stay the same, are relatively stable, to get a target or maximum of 200.0. We are actually decreasing, if you notice, from our high of about 11 or 13, and now we're at a moving average projected for 9.3. So this is good news. But fatalities for pedestrians and non-motorists can't be really projected or predicted, because you may have 0 in 1 year, and the next year you may have 7 or 8. So this is a very volatile situation, and we are monitoring this as well. The purpose of the performance targets, or Maxima, is to monitor crashes of motorized vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians in the MPO area. The goal is to provide regional stakeholders the information they need to implement projects to improve safety conditions for all users in the Mesilla Valley MPO. And we have in our tip a situation where you look at how a project is enhancing safety. So we're monitoring that through the projects, or if they don't. The trend lines are indicators of very complex factors that cause crashes. Some are structural, like alcoholism, driving over the speed limit. Some are geographic, means they're tied to a corridor or to an intersection. A more detailed analysis will be contained in the 2021 safety report for the MPO, which I am presently working on. And additional data can be found in the 2018 New Mexico Traffic Crash Annual Report, and that's online. And if you, it's just really easy, just type in Traffic Annual Report and you'll get it. The one thing we always are reminding everybody is there are 2-year lag before the data is released to the public and to MPOs. So there is some, it's not immediate. And so that's what our concern we keep on stressing to the state and other parties. I stand for any questions or comments on the standards. We will come back in the next time we meet for recommended approval. I mean, for recommendation. This is just a first reading for your contemplation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they'd like to share? Please do so.
I have a question or a clarification question. Just to clarify that I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that the fatalities are increasing, but the injuries are decreasing?
Yes,
Is
that's
that
correct. That's correct.
What's causing that? Or is it, yeah, what's causing more fatalities but less injuries? And is fatalities not considered an injury?
Well, they are where they're a special kind of injury, I guess you can say that. I'm not being facetious, well, a little bit. But it's morbidly sarcastic. There are two different factors involved. The fatalities are not really tied a lot of time with geometrics, but because I've studied this very closely, and they're tied to speeding. The number one culprit is texting on phones or distractions, and also alcohol abuse and drug abuse, or other situations involved too. And they're more education and things become systemic. The serious injuries are more related to systemic improvements like airbags, etc., alcohol and drug abuse programs, driving education, and geometric intersection. So they're two different. The fatalities are usually focused on more than the serious injuries, but those are two things we usually do focus. But fatalities have different characteristics than serious injuries, just to a large degree. So if you look at you have to look at them separately, I think. I don't think I know. Does that answer your question or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
This is Ashley Curry. I just looked up the fatality rates for 2019. New Mexico is still population per 100,000. We're number one at 2.24. Next below us is Hawaii with 1.77. I've said this, I serve on the BPAC as well, and I've said this again and again. I think it's backwards that I know that Dr. McAdams will disagree with me or argue differently, but I have a really hard time justifying an increase in targets for deaths when we're number one in the nation. I feel like we should be doing everything in our power to be decreasing number of deaths. And I know it's kind of a political thing and the way that goes. I understand it and have talked considerably, but I still have a really hard time justifying an increase in fatalities when we are significantly the highest in the nation. I don't see a lot of programming going into changing that compared to what other states are doing.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Curry, we concur with you, as you know, that this is sort of distasteful situation, but pretty much the FHWA has the gun to our head to a large degree. We have to adopt the state or adopt our own, and that will be disastrous. We hope in the future that these regulations will be changed, because the real purpose, as you know, is to decrease non-motorist, particularly crashes and fatalities, and vehicular crashes too. And this doesn't really do it. And it's really a political situation. We cannot go that direction. And we plead for those that can call to their congressmen or to state congresspersons, excuse me. I didn't mean that, because Chochi Torres is small as a congressperson. And we'd ask that you go to your congressperson to say that this is not really, the intention was good, the outcome is not. So that's and unfortunately we have to do this or we'll be sanctioned perhaps. It's not a good situation, Ms. Curry, as you can see. We're not defending this in any way, but we have to do it because it's federal regulations.
I have another question then. I understand that you have to adopt a guideline. I'm learning a ton in this meeting right now. Sorry, so excuse all my questions. But so what is being done in order to make sure that our numbers don't continue to go up? Because there's one thing.
Yeah, these are good questions, and this is a very broad topic anyway. You really have to go deeply in the subject, and fortunately or fortunate I have. And the situation could be many things. It could be, again, as I said, drunk driving. It could be speeding. It could be a bad intersection. It could be signal timing that's not allowing pedestrians to cross safely in time. So it's two things. Overall, things that maybe we can change or something we can change at an MPO level or city or county or town level, are stuff that really has to be changed at a national level. So it's depending on the circumstance, and also improvements won't happen maybe 2 or 3 years after an improvement has been done. So we're going to see, for example, crashes going down on North Main, and that's already happened. And after we make improvements, we'll see that. Valley I think we'll have less pedestrian and bicycle crashes and vehicular crashes because improvements were made there. But again, it's very hard to get to get control of. But I think the real key is people working together in a consistent basis. That's what's happened in other countries and other cities around this nation, and they found that consistent working together, not just one blast, is the way you reduce crashes, fatalities, and serious injuries.
All right, another question.
No problem.
So I thought you showed that the state of New Mexico was decreasing, but we were increasing. Was I just looking at the wrong?
Let me see if we can go back. We're in that slide. Let's see. We are. Oh, we are. We are non-serious, non-motorized fatalities. The state is going up. We're going down. So is that what you're talking about?
Maybe. I'll have to look at it a little bit more.
Okay.
We went quickly through a lot of graphs.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer questions later by phone or through email about this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Those are good questions. Anyone else have any other questions? Hearing none, should we go to number 7, committee and staff comments? Dominic, are we ready for that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, we are.
Okay, so Dominic, are you okay if I just call on the group and then let them respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. City of Las Cruces.
No, we just we're executing some agreements for the next phase of Tailshore LGRF funding, and Grant is gonna be reaching out to for exhibits for the packet, and I think that's it.
I have a quick question, Cody.
Yes.
Where are you guys on Toshiro?
Toshiro.
Yeah, I know that you guys you designed it. I thought it went out to bid, but I haven't seen much activity. Just a quick question on that.
I'm not sure on that one because I didn't work on that one. Could I get back to you on that?
Oh, no problem, no problem. Cody, what I could do is I could shoot you an email tomorrow and just to inquire.
Okay.
I know there was some questions that a resident came by. Well, resident called that didn't come by. Resident called and was asking when we were going to start that project. So I let them know that it's not ours, that that they should reach out to the city. But just in case if someone else calls, I have some information and maybe who the project manager will be, and then maybe I'll just put them in the right direction. Although I thought I did anyways. All right, thanks, Cody.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
There's no one else with so you weren't going to comment on the city projects? You didn't have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Doña Ana County, so I am bidding the the Doñana School and El Camino Real intersection. We've been working on that project for years. So I'm bidding it. The bids, it's out to bid right now. Bids close on September 30th, and we'll award to the lowest responsible bidder. But that, if anyone has traveled through that intersection, it's a very skewed and terrible intersection. So we're actually going to a double T intersection. Just FYI, you know, I guess it's not taking advantage of the situation, but I guess we may be fortunate in that we might be able to fit it in and start the project during this, not having the school activities occur there and having the VLA occurring. Anyways, that's what the county has right now. So Town of Mesilla, what do you all have?
Yeah, this is Rod McGilvray. So the town of Mesilla is actively building the trail along Calle del Norte. The project's a huge success as of right now, on schedule, on budget, looking really, really good. We're also working on the design for the next phase of that trail system, Calle del Norte Phase 2. And we also have a couple of small roadway projects going in within the town. So we're excited to be so blessed to have so much work right now.
That's good. Las Cruces Public Schools.
Currently, we have no updates.
Okay, thank you. Roadrunner Transit. I don't think I heard anyone with them.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, is Richard Hanway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We are finalizing contract with the firm that will be handling our short range transit plan. That we have the documents in legal right now, so hopefully they'll be moving forward here in the next week or two. We also have, we're finalizing our RFP for our electric bus project. It is getting ready to go to SAC for review. We're hoping to have that RFP released next month, so we can start getting bids in on who the OEMs are going to be, or possible bidders. We are also hiring. We're going to put out another hiring post. We're looking for fixed route drivers that we are shorthanded. NMSU surprised us and actually had us do full service out on campus, and we didn't know that they were going to do that till the last minute. So we had to repurpose some drivers up to get them out there. We're using the larger buses, try to keep them socially distant. We're doing cleaning every 2 hours on all of our routes, including NMSU. We're hoping to go back to normal service if everything continues moving in the right direction and we get some more staff on board, possibly looking about Thanksgiving, I would say. That's about it.
Nice. Good information. Thank you very much.
Yes,
SCRTD?
Yes, we've got quite a bit of activity going on. We're starting a new bus corridor on October 3rd that will take us from Santa Teresa, Sunland Park into downtown El Paso to the Paisano Transit Center. This is what was formerly the 83 route that Sun Metro was doing under contract with First Transit. They've released the First Transit contract, so now they have their own employees. They understand they have some serious challenges also with staffing. As a result of this, we've been ramping up. We've actually added several more bus operators, another dispatcher, and with the help of the folks at the Move It Center here in town, we've moved into a larger office that's on the first floor. So we're able to take in people and whatnot. We also initiated a on-demand service about a month ago. So we're ramping that up after the holiday fully, and we'll start taking in more calls on that. So that works over in the Picacho Hills area. And we're doing that with just one bus working pretty much from 8 to 5. So we're starting to pick up some trips and it's doing really well. And then lastly, with the new bus corridor, we are getting a couple of hybrid electric buses. Those will be delivered. They're running a little bit late because they were delayed because of the shutdown. They're Gillig buses and coming in from the Bay Area. And so that was shut down for 10 weeks. So we lost 10 weeks, but we'll get them here by the first week of November. So we'll have to get by with our small fleet and be a little challenged, but we think we have enough vehicles to do it. And then lastly, we do have a 10-year plan similar to the one Roadrunner has. We've already got our contractor on board, and we're starting to do some work. In fact, I've got the contractor coming out next week. I'll have some discussions. I think we're going to do a conference call, but now we can actually do it on site. So I'll need to be talking to the MPO staff. This just came out today, so I'm hoping that either next Wednesday or Thursday we'll be able to meet with masks on somewhere. But now we'll do it through Zoom. Yeah, that process is going. Previously, we've had a 5-year plan, and that's about almost 5 years old. So we did upgrade that a couple of years ago, or refreshed it is a better way to look at it. But the 10-year plan will give us a much better window with a much broader scale. And so we're looking forward to that. We'll certainly get information out to people. We'll be doing a public review process, somewhat creative, I'm sure. But I'll try to get some more updates. We're also going to be setting up on our website some information on the 10-year plan. So you'll be able to link to that if you're trying to keep up. Just approved their work schedule. So as soon as I can get that operating in the next week or so, I'll probably put that online. So it'll give you an opportunity to see what's coming and when that's going to happen. And that's all I have.
You've been pretty busy. Thank you.
Yeah, with the pandemic. Yeah.
All right, moving on to section 7.2 NMDOT project updates. Debbie?
Yes, thank you. Today I just have the I-25 University Avenue updates. Continuing road work, of course, on I-25 and University. Currently, the northbound I-25 loop ramp is closed until further notice. Travis Drive is also closed from Arrowhead to Stewart Street so the crews can work on the south roundabout. Motorists can use Stewart Street and Arrowhead Drive to access South Travis Drive, University Avenue, and the parking lots during this closure. For any up-to-date information on this project, we have our website, www.i25-university.com. And also, just to throw in for anyone who might be interested tonight, there is going to be a virtual public meeting for this project. It begins at 6 p.m. and they are broadcasting on the Las Cruces channel, Comcast, Xfinity channel 98. And you can also check that out on Facebook if you're interested. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Debbie. Okay, now moving on to 7.3 MPO staff update. Dominic or Michael?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Dominick for the record. So we have a couple of things coming up. Our UPWP was accepted by the feds, so we will be doing the amendment we discussed at the, I believe, 2 meetings ago. So that will be coming up. As Dr. Michael McAdams alluded to today, we will also be doing safety targets here in the next couple of months. And those are pretty much the only updates we have at this time.
Okay, thanks, Dominic. Dominic, did you or Dr. McAdams receive any public commentary as we proceeded through our meeting?
I did not, Mr. Chair.
Me either. So I'm actually I'm looking for an adjournment. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Ashley
Zach.
Curry, second.
All right. Can we do a vote, please?
I believe we can do this by acclamation.
I vote aye. Let's go. Thank you all. Have a great day, a great rest of the week. And Dominic, I'm sure Andrew will be back next week or next month. I'm sorry. And so thank you all, MPO staff. I appreciate your help. Look forward to seeing you all next month. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.